Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive! This week, I kick off a new short, in-depth series taking a look at the evolution of Cyber and Bioware through the editions of Shadowrun. This is one of those fun areas where you can't really look at the core book per se, because all the special rules are in the individual supplements for each edition. But over the editions, things have changed significantly, so I'm going to be talking about that. This is also getting back to some of the early series when I first started the channel, where I had done a look at the Matrix through the editions and Magic through the editions. I'm still waiting for all the correct books to come out to do a look at everything through 6th edition. So, at this point, it's sit back, relax, and enjoy as I talk about 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition Cyberware and Bioware. So Cyberware is one of those things that has gone through myriad subtle changes over the editions. I'm going to outright say one of the most noticeable things is over time, some things have actually gone down in the essence it costs. I believe this is representing that as technology advanced, they got better at installing this stuff without messing with the holistic integrity of the human body. Of course, there's other reasons things might have changed as well. But we're going to start by taking a look how things worked in 2nd edition. For the most part, 3rd edition used the same rules and mechanics, etc., etc. So we're not really going to worry about 3rd edition. And one of the notable things is Cyberware has always used nanites. However, the nanites used in 2nd edition were a bit different. They were not nano machines. They were genetically engineered microsurgical units. And they used two types. Threaders, that were their outer protein shell wall was impregnated with an inorganic conductive material, usually platinum or gold. More likely gold, because gold and titanium are the only two elements that the body doesn't reject. And basically what would happen is threaders, they would form the line for the circuits and everything and die. Their shell wall decomposing and forming a link. And yeah, that's basically what they did. Coders were the kind of did the opposite. They went around the metal, formed and died around it, forming a coating, the insulation around the wire, so to speak. And then, they'd use an enzyme that would just break down the outer shell casings, and you'd have a enzyme-coated wire, essentially. And that was kind of the big deal thing, how they did Cyberware in the old days. At least according to the classic Shadowtech. Everyone's favorite book, because this is what introduced us to Bioware as well. And, oh man, the fun things you had. I mean, let's be honest. Shadowtech introduced us to the Cranial Cyber Deck, where you literally had every single piece of the Cyber Deck implanted as its own component. You know, the MPCP, i.e. the motherboard, the persona module, hardening, math SPU, tactical computer, fun, response upgrades to your cyber deck, transfer upgrades. Of course, you also had such fun things as the olfactory booster and the chemical analyzer that were great implants. However, Shadowtech also introduces to Bioware. And Bioware is where things got really interesting. There were technically no rules for when Cyberware and Bioware clashed, other than the system overstress rule, which was basically if you increase the stat to over twice its normal limit, i.e. your character gen, your attribute character gen, plus any XP spends, it caused bad things to happen. But technically, here's how Bioware worked. Bioware had numbers, costs, similar to the essence cost of Cyberware. However, Bioware was based off your body. And it didn't actually reduce your body. It created a body index. And your Bioware could not exceed your body score. Otherwise, bad things happen. Now, 3rd edition did do a kind of tweak to this, where they changed it from being just your body score to your body score minus any essence loss. So, it still favored trolls. Dear gods, a troll who went out the gates going, I'm going to put as much cyber and Bioware into me as I can, could become an absolute beast. While humans didn't really have quite all the advantage. Now, things that would later on become more standard fare were introduced much later in the edition in cyber technology. And cyber technology, first off, it introduced move by wire. And move by wire initially could be both the single most powerful piece of ware you could put on a Street Sam, but was also one of the hardest to actually max out. And why do I say that? Well, move by wire is one of those classic pieces of ware that the highest levels you could not have as a standard version. Move by wire, when it was introduced, had 4 levels. The first level cost a little bit more than wired reflexes. But the thing to remember with move-by-wire is when move-by-wire was initially released, it gave a bonus to quickness, reaction, and bonus die for athletic and stealth tests. It basically gave its rating as a boost to your quickness, 2 times its rating as a boost to your reaction, its rating as an extra die for athletics and stealth tests, and gave its rating in extra initiative dice. This meant in the old days that this was nasty stuff. Because it made you more accurate in combat, reacted faster, and gave you the absolute most initiative dice possible, period. And also gave you a bonus dice for athletics and stealth tests. But no one really cared about that bit. Or a lot of people didn't. Move-by-wire, though, as I said, had higher essence costs back in the day. 2.5 essence points for rating 1. Level 4, though, 3 million new yen and 6.45 essence cost. You're only going to see this if you had it at least beta grade to drop it to below 6 essence. And even then, you're not getting much of a bonus. If you were able to get it at beta grade, it would cost 5.16 essence. Now, a big thing to remember is at this time, a smart link cost 1 essence. Because it was a lot more involved. It was a partial sim rig. It was a display in your eye, induction pads in your hands, etc., etc. It was a lot of stuff went into the pre-wireless smart links. And so that meant that if you somehow had a character who was able to get a move-by-wire system implanted at beta grade, so you're looking at, like, instead of 3 million, more like 30 million new yen, first off, why are you getting that implanted? You're gonna be able to afford... You could buy a permanent luxury lifestyle at that point. Like, no, seriously, permanent luxury lifestyle was 10 million new yen. Just saying. But you are literally dealing with something that is just so expensive, it would never, ever be seen. And just all that. And then you wouldn't be able to do anything else. You're fast. You're using smart goggles because you can't get it implanted, so you're only getting a reduction of your target numbers by 1. Instead of the bonuses from a Smart Link or Smart Link 2 that would reduce it much lower. And that was just it with the wire reflexes. Of course, other things introduced in cyber technology are the reflex trigger for wired reflexes, basically an on-off switch for wired reflexes, and reaction enhancers, which were a system that went with your wired reflexes, i.e. you couldn't really get them installed separately. You wanted to get them installed when you got your wired reflexes installed. And additionally, there was one piece of cyberware that was compatible with another piece of Bioware. Boosted Reflexes was a sort of light wired reflexes that was actually, if you got it installed at the same time you installed a synaptic accelerator Bioware implant, you could combine the two and get the benefits of both. This was literally the only time two things that increased your initiative dice were compatible in all of the editions. Admittedly, the two pieces of ware were not the most spectacular boost. Essentially, for what most people could afford, you were getting one die from Boosted Reflexes and one die from the Synaptic Accelerator. So you were really, generally speaking, only getting 2 extra die. But it did have the benefit that it was a lower essence cost than Wired Reflexes 2. And that was the thing people looked at more than anything else. And that is overall the ins and outs of cyberware in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition era. Wired Reflexes was expensive and a huge essence hog. Move by Wire was expensive, crazy powerful, and a crazy high essence cost. And Smart Guns, or Smart Link system, was a whole crap load of stuff that went throughout your whole body. It wasn't just a upgrade to your eye, like we'll see in the later editions. And that's the quick overview of cyberware in the early editions. Join me next week as I talk about what happens when the world goes wireless. Until then, I'd like you to remember to have fun and keep gaming.